South Carolina's win over LSU proves that they will be SEC champions this year.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Locked On Women's Basketball, your team every day. My name is Clea Butler, the sideline reporter for the Chicago Sky, and thanks for being an everydayer and making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. As always, I'm joined with our very own Sophia Sophia Jones, radio analyst for the Golden State Valkyries. Sophia, what should we be on the lookout for today?
Today, you guys need to watch out for conference leaders showing why they are at the top of their leagues.
Sophia, I agree with you as always. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Use your profit boost on NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Our roadmap for today: we don't want no scrub. Chelsea Gray is not a scrub by any means. We'll get into that a little bit later. Top league play across the NCAA. There were some great games this past weekend. So whether you were celebrating Valentine's Day or you were upset that you didn't have a Valentine, that's okay, because I hope you're watching women's basketball. But the real question of yesterday was, who can guard Tessa Johnson? That came from the words of Kim Mulkey during one of the timeouts. And shout out to Holly Rowe. Fantastic sideline reporting for being able to get that. Shout out to the camera crew for being able to record Kim Mulkey as she was saying it. But South Carolina defeats LSU 79-72. And I feel like Johnson & Johnson have to have some sort of brand partnership with Tessa Johnson and Raven Johnson now, because they led the way. 21 points for Tessa Johnson, key buckets down the stretch, and she was just letting that thing fly from the perimeter, hence why Kim Mulkey said who can guard Tessa. And then Raven Johnson added 19 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals, showing why she is the veteran presence on this team.
Yeah, for Tessa Johnson, to get her connecting from the perimeter is always such a crucial part of South Carolina's game to help spread the floor. Gamecocks usually like to score within the interior, get those points in the paint. So having her stretch the floor, keep the defense honest, really helps open everything up. And for Raven Johnson, Dawn Staley goes on and on about her for very good reason. But her points always are surrounded by, sometimes these social media coaches don't understand the true value of Raven Johnson, but real coaches do. And it is so easy to tell why Raven Johnson is such a valuable player and a great basketball player in general, putting together these all-around performances, and specifically in scenarios down the stretch where you're looking at someone to help lead. Raven Johnson is the epitome of that, whether she's handling the ball, controlling the place, running the offense, or defensively being the one that's pressuring, having to guard another Johnson in Flage. She's just doing everything.
Yeah, and you honestly took the words right out of my mouth. With Raven Johnson, I also like that you said the social media coaches maybe just don't understand it, but her impact is really felt when she is on the court and when she is not. And you're exactly right when it comes to that late game execution, because again, obviously a victory here, but it was still a close game, 79-72. And when you have, your upperclassmen kind of leading the way, especially looking for a Raven Johnson, who Coach Staley has looked to in times prior to help them finish out the game. I mean, obviously the 19 points was one of the most standout performances she's had this season. She's not always, the one that's going to lead in scoring, but she is going to lead in other ways, which you mentioned. But what you can't not look at the 7 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals, because that shows just what a two-way player she is. Obviously, defensively, you're going up against Flage Johnson still, one of the leading scorers for LSU. You're locking her down. You're making her have a tough time that day. Had a good game, but still. Then also with the 6 assists. And you talk about this team being a team that likes to, really get in the interior. Obviously, size is always a factor when it comes to South Carolina. But you have Madina Okot, who had 12 points, but on the glass, she had 17 rebounds. However, LSU, I believe, actually did win the rebounding battle in this game. And even Kim Mulkey said that she can't be too mad at her team in terms of looking at the stat sheet and looking at the overall performance. They didn't turn the ball over too much. They won the rebounding battle. They were shooting technically pretty well. However, they struggled from deep, 2 of 12 from three-point line. We've seen them get a little bit more hot from the perimeter than we have in this game. And that's a credit to South Carolina's defense, but they also missed 10 layups and 9 free throws. 2 key ones coming from Tessa Johnson missing those late in the game.
Yeah, like you said, some down the stretch errors by LSU. And I think you look at the 21 points Tessa Johnson put up, Michaela Williams, she added 11. But other than that, no one else scored in double figures. So it wasn't a really balanced LSU offensive scoring as we're used to seeing.
Yeah. Next up for South Carolina, they will play Alabama, Ole Miss, Missouri, then Kentucky. And then it's time for the SEC tournament. And I think they have paved a beautiful way for themselves to get to another win within the SEC, especially on the road that they're currently on. They are number 1 in SEC standings, 11-1 in conference play, 25-2 overall, and they're on a 6-game winning streak. And they are looking like they are clicking on all cylinders at this point in the season. That's what matters most. And you want to be playing your best basketball in March. They're starting a little bit early, but it's already basically March. Another key one in the SEC, Georgia actually upsets Vanderbilt 76-74. A reminder that Vanderbilt was coming off of a big win over Texas and then dropped a game to an unranked opponent in conference play.
Yeah, this one was surprising to say the least on Vanderbilt's part. And coming off of that win against Texas, they were looking extremely dominant to the point of being in that conversation with South Carolina as a team that was kind of running the SEC. But now I think with this loss, you take a little bit of a step back with them. Still extremely dominant of a team. But yeah, Georgia, they'll come out and beat some of these ranked opponents. They were one that will sit on the precipice of making the AP top 25 poll. But in that loss for the Commodores, Michaela Blake's 27 points. She only made 3 shots the whole game. She was 19 of 20 from the free throw line. So even despite that, Georgia still managed to pull off this win. But I think it just goes to show how deep the SEC continues to be.
And you have to credit Georgia, too, because they made Michaela Blake's earn her points at the free throw line. So they didn't make it just easy for her to just get all the openings that she likes to get. She had to make those free throws, which credit to her for making that many free throws in a game. But also a standout for Georgia. Danny Carnegie had 29 points in her 12th game, over 20 points this season. So again, you mentioned Georgia, a team that can kind of sneak in and bite you if you're not prepared. But another one, Texas defeats Tennessee 65-63. We knew that this was going to be a tight one when it came to coaching. We know both these players have been, let's say, a little bit harsh or maybe hard on their players as of late in terms of what they are seeing in, the on-court sort of action of, are they liking how they're playing? Are they not liking how they're playing? Are they showing enough heart? But Texas in this game had showed enough heart to fight off Tennessee. And your typical leaders for this one, Madison Booker, 14 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Rory Harmon, 12 points, 3 assists, and Jordan Lee kind of rounded it out with 12 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. But it came down to Texas's defense at the end, which has been able to hold them in a lot of these games.
Yeah, Texas, they were leading the majority of the game, but Tennessee, they made a really valiant push late. But like you said, Texas built themselves enough of a cushion to then get enough stops on the defensive end. But I was actually really impressed with Talaysia Cooper. of Tennessee. She scored 29 points, was 12 and 19. So extremely efficient there. And I think for the Lady Vols, that's another team that likes to have a very balanced scoring. No one really supersedes anyone when it comes to being a primary option. But for Talaysia Cooper to take the game within her control, I think is something that will be positive for the Lady Vols in the future.
Yeah, excited to see what is next to come in the SEC, especially as we are approaching that championship game and who's going to take over all the standings. However, stay with us because Olivia Miles has led TCU to the top of the Big 12. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. Somebody who has been to plenty of NBA games but has not been able to make a finals appearance. This seems like a once in a lifetime opportunity, and know that maybe I'll have to enter myself so that I could get everything paid for to go watch some more basketball because I can never get enough of it. But if you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. It's 2026, and if you're still paying rent without Bilt, it's time for a change. Bilt is the loyalty program for renters that rewards you for your biggest monthly expense. Rent. With Bilt, every rent payment earns you points that can be used towards flights, hotels, Lyft rides, Amazon.com purchases, and just so much more. And something I'm really excited about is this month, Bilt members can earn points on mortgage payments for the very first time. So soon you'll be able to get rewarded wherever you live and unlock exclusive benefits with more than 45,000 restaurants, fitness studios, pharmacies, and other neighborhood partners. Personally, I would like to redeem my points for my Lyft rides because I had not had a car for a little while. And trust me, I needed to get places still. So that would have been incredibly useful at the time. So make sure that you are using Bilt to help redeem with some of that. It's simple. Paying rent is better with Bilt, and soon owning a home will be better with Bilt too. Earn rewards and get something back wherever you live. Join the loyalty program for renters at joinbilt.com/lockedonwomen. That's JOINBILT.com/lockedonwomen. Make sure to use our URL so they know that we sent you. All righty. TCU with a 59-50 victory over West Virginia. Why this was significant? Because TCU wins their 40th straight game at home, and they are now first in the Big 12. Olivia Miles maybe not having as much of a proficient scoring night as she had last time out when she had 40 points and had hit 10 3-pointers, but she had 12 points, 7 rebounds, and what always stands out most about her, 7 assists in this game. And when we're talking about the future for Olivia Miles and what that can look like for her in the WNBA, we could use her on the Chicago Sky if she's going to be facilitating like this. But really increasing her draft stock, I think we've said it time and time again, it was a really good decision for her to go back to school. And honestly, this transfer is seeming to be a really significant benefit for her.
Yeah, and I think you say she would be really helpful on the Chicago Sky. That's if she drops all the way down to 5, because she is doing such a great job improving that draft stock this year with TCU. But like you said, definitely mature of her to be patient and entering the WNBA draft. I think that she's really been able to just round out her game recently on this team, putting together a lot of these complete stat lines and staying healthy. Throughout pretty much her entire career, we would see her for a couple games and she would be out injured. So that just leads to a lot of inconsistency, maybe even some questions by WNBA front offices if they want to draft someone like that. But she's, knock on wood, been pretty good for TCU in staying on the floor, which in itself is a very valuable asset.
Sending it over to the ACC, number 11 Duke took down UNC 72-68 on senior night. And luckily the seniors had stood out that night too. Seniors Ashlyn Jackson and Taina Marr both registered 12 points. Taina Marr had 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, and a block. Only turned the ball over 3 times, so great ratio there. Jackson had 5 rebounds, had 4 assists, and 3 steals. And then Riley Nelson added in double-digit scoring with 13 points. But what stood out most in this game is that UNC did not shoot a single free throw the entire game.
Yeah, you talk about defending without fouling. That's a coach's dream. I know Kara Lawson had to be pleased with that stat because Duke, for their team, they were 17 of 21. So when you're creating so many looks from there and not giving that same opportunity to your opponent, that puts you in a very favorable position and a huge reason why Duke won the game. But their defense has been stellar all year, and I think that now we're really just starting to see them complete that on the offensive side of the floor more now.
Yeah, another team that we've talked about time and time again, one of the best scoring defenses in the nation, truly, but definitely within the ACC. And the quickness in which Kara Lawson was able to flip the script of what they looked like at the beginning of the season. Obviously had a strong start, dwindled down a little bit, but the push that they are making within the ACC, when we had talked about it, could they fall off a little bit? Will Louisville take over the ACC? Will somebody else step up when Duke was obviously one of the number 1 favored? We talked about UNC being a possibility of being favored, but Duke reclaiming that title, if you will, and definitely looking like they will be able to take over the ACC championship game.
Yeah, and that's also us beside the fact that this is a rivalry. And a lot of the times in rivalries, your schematics, player personnel, a lot of that can get thrown out the window because there's a lot of emotion enveloped in the situation. And so for Duke to still come out on top against a North Carolina team that's ranked number 21 right now in the country, I think has, like you said, shown how much this group has grown throughout the course of the season. And they're collecting all the different tools and assets and resume boosters to cement themselves at the top of the ACC.
Yeah, Duke busy collecting all the Infinity Stones to take over the ACC and make a run in the NCAA tournament. But looking to the Big East, why do we talk about the Big East? Obviously, because of UConn, 71-56 victory over Marquette. Azzi Fudd scored 25 points. Sarah Strong had 19 of her 22 in the second half of the game. They remain unbeaten. However, UConn had won 21 straight games by at least 25 points before Saturday, which is the longest such streak for any Division I program over the last 25 seasons. So when you think that UConn can't become any more historic than it already is, they find new ways to just add on these accolades of, oh, actually, we keep beating teams by 25 points, and people haven't done that in the last 25 years, and we're still undefeated, and it's already March. So in case you guys were wondering, and they're winning in conference and out of conference.
Yeah, it's almost a bittersweet because it's like, oh, the streak ended. Well, that streak was absolutely incredible feat where they're beating these opponents by 25 plus and throwing in some of those schools that they beat, or the last one that they beat by less than 25 was Michigan. But in between them, we saw them beat Notre Dame, Tennessee, USC. So they played some really strong opponents and still walked through.
They will go on to play Villanova on Wednesday. We will see if they can carry out that 25-plus point range or if they'll dwindle back below that. But coming up after this, stick with us because we have to go over Unrivaled and why losing to the point god, isn't so bad.
Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours make 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. No more wondering if people are actually being genuine on their resumes or not, because we all just fabricate the truth maybe a little bit. I'm about 80% into my Spanish, but I'll definitely put bilingual sometimes. So spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help you get the job premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or the guesswork. I just got all my recent 1099s in the mail, which makes me feel like more of an adult. But because I'm still so new at this, TurboTax is so reliable to actually provide some knowledge to a topic I am a little naive on. So for a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150, all in. If our TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today.
So apparently when Chelsea Gray had pointed up to the rafters at the beginning of Unrivaled and said that championships were the standard, did the rose fall off a little bit? Yes. However, she never fell off because she won the 1v1 tournament against a tough opponent in Alicia Gray. And to which she said post-game that at least she didn't lose to a scrub. So let's just go back to Chelsea Gray here, because there was a really sweet moment afterwards where her son ran up to her, and I saw this really funny TikTok video of people saying that her son has saw more championships than a lot of people in this world. And when you're thinking of her WNBA status, winning with the Rose last season, her winning 1v1, it's hard when you probably have one of the coolest mobs on this planet. But I think before she even got to Alicia Gray, Chelsea Gray beating Paige Bueckers was significant in my head, because she had Paige kind of in a whirlwind. She built a comfortable lead against Paige, where Paige actually had to walk off the court afterwards, which again, this is all fun for them. Like, I have no hard feelings here. But Paige really was like, how do you answer? How do you respond to something like this? Chelsea Gray is just in a world of her own, and 1v1 was her bag completely.
Yeah, I think throughout the entire competition, to me, what was going through Chelsea Gray's head whenever she beat an opponent was that there's levels to this. And she is on a different one than some of these other players in one-on-one specifically. But even after Paige, she went on to beat Kelsey Plum 12-8. On the other side, Alicia Gray beat Aaliyah Boston at 12-10. So these are some really tight matchups already. But that final, I like that they do it the best out of 3 in games to 7. After Alicia won the first one 7-0, I thought that she was going to cruise through. I knew Chelsea wasn't going to go down without a fight. But the way that Chelsea battled back, and during that game 3, both of them looked so depleted and exhausted. I was genuinely wondering if they were going to have to take a medical timeout so they could catch their breath, because that's how intense that game was. And Alicia, she went up early and it looked like she had so many opportunities to win, but she just didn't have enough juice in the tank to finish. And Chelsea did. And that's exactly how it went. But I think another one of my favorite social media quotes about Chelsea Gray is that she'll do the craziest move you've ever seen on the basketball court and then walk up like Viola Davis. And that just epitomizes her demeanor, which I love her so much for.
I'm sorry, that's really good. That's good content right there, because truthfully, it's just like, if anybody has ever seen, How to Get Away with Murder, Viola Davis, like, she is walking in there with, she has something on her mind. It's business. There's business to be taken care of. She's leaned forward a little bit. Like, it's a very particular walk. I'm literally envisioning her walk. And then she will proceed to cross you up in one of the most disgusting ways possible and hit a three, get to the rim, hit a mid-range. You just don't know. But something that you have said that has really resonated with me as we continue to watch 1v1 was really, it is who is a little bit more in shape in that moment, or at least who is going to be able to fight back from that fatigue a little bit more to get to that final push and win. Because, I mean, we're looking at Chelsea Gray. She's obviously coming off a championship. Not saying that these last couple of months she could have slacked off by any means, but she just showed a little bit more resilience towards the end, where this is exhausting. I mean, there is nobody to help you defensively, obviously. And when you are going up against a Chelsea Gray, even going up against an Alicia Gray, these are quick players that obviously have been able to can take 1v1 actions within league play. So when you have this full court access and it's just like, all right, what can I take out of my bag of tricks today? And you just got to figure out the best way to just get to 7 points and then maybe get a quick breather, but not really. It's intense. And so I agree with you. It's kind of like, who has that grit to be like, all right, we have a couple more defensive stances here and we can maybe close this out.
Yeah, because like I said, in that last game, there was a stretch where neither player, they weren't scoring, and they were, because you could just tell they were so exhausted. So they were getting some of their heaves up, but the handles were a little loose, which is, for both of these players, extremely out of character. And then they were just heaving some shots up and jogging out to the 3-point line, getting it back again. I was like, wow, these players are exhausted, but they left everything out. And I think Alicia, you can tell why she made it to the final, but Chelsea, it's so hard to go up against the point guard.
Absolutely. And when we're looking just at Unrivaled as a whole, they had just made that trip to Philly. Turns out they are going to make another trip to Brooklyn. We'll be playing in the Barclays Center, and that will be for the league's semifinals, which are scheduled for March 2nd. So make sure you tune in. But thank you so much for watching Locked On Women's Basketball. That'll do it for us today. Thank you guys for chatting with us, and we will